so we'll get started. Call to order the Arts Commission meeting for April 17th, 2025. I'll ask Anne to please do a roll call of attendees.
Terrific. Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Amanda Dexter.
Present.
Joyce Lemaster.
That's you, Joyce.
She said here, but you can't hear her.
We'll have to turn up Joyce's volume. Daria Loy.
Here.
Josh Planton.
Here.
Miriam Ravenwise. Here. Rebecca Sierra. Here. Amy Wilson.
Here.
And I'd like to note that choir has an excused absence.
Okay. Adoption of the agenda. So everyone should have a copy of the agenda in front of them. A couple things that I'd like to add is we also have the February 27th minutes from the working session. Those are still included in your packet. They weren't sent out, but if everyone could give a chance to look at those, we'll try and approve those today. And then at the end of the meeting, I think we need about 5 minutes or so. I'd like to add a topic on the mill proposal, Amy, that I think you were going to give an update on. So are there any other items, topics, or changes to the agenda that anyone would like to propose? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you, Amy. Is there a second?
A second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Okay, agenda's approved. Meeting minute approval. Let's just maybe go in order here. February 20th meeting minutes. Were there any comments, questions, clarifications needed that anyone wanted to put forth?
I think without having much time to review, I don't know. I mean, I assume they're good.
I did do a review. I didn't notice anything. Nothing stood out dramatically to me.
Okay.
Okay. We've then gone to the February 27th minutes. Any comments, questions, clarity?
Is that the retreat, Josh?
That's the retreat.
So I do want to let folks know, so in the packets that went out last week, we had the minutes from the February 20 and from March 20. But as Josh just noted, I did not include the minutes to the retreat. It is, however, printed out in front of you if you want to take the last 3 pages of the handout that you've got. So if you do want to take a minute now just to look at the retreat minutes. And do people know how to, like, I always try to send them out on the Friday before we meet. So you, but you can always go to the city's webpage and then just go to agendas and minutes, and then it will print out. You can see, you can download anything, any of the public commission meetings that week or meeting that week. So.
Wow, it's kind of crazy to read over the strategic plan and then know how much we've gotten done.
Yeah.
Okay. For the March 20th minutes, we'll do the same thing. Any comments, questions, proposed edits?
I didn't realize that this is late. But should we do a presentation or maybe a quick update on meetings with the school district and foundation?
My plan is to talk about that during the project updates that we'll have later in the agenda.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
it's on there. Okay, if no changes, does anyone want to make a motion to approve the minutes, either individually or altogether?
Oh, heck, I make a motion.
Okay.
Daria, step up.
Is your motion for
You-
all
you
three?
make
Is your
your
motion for one or both?
Let's do all three.
Oh, thank
Okay,
you. Nice second.
I have a quick question. I noticed in the minutes, the Trail News article was due on April 14th. Did that go out? Thank you. Yay. Okay, good.
okay. All those in favor of approving, the minutes from February 20th, February 27th, and March 20th, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Okay, we got them all approved. Perfect. And then Ann, public comments.
Did not receive any, in advance of today's meeting.
Perfect. We're ahead of schedule. Next up, discussion items is the public art renovation grant staff update. So I'll pass it off to Ann.
Thank you. I want to say, this has been a hard-working group this month. Holy cow, you guys are doing. And as Rebecca just observed and looking over at the notes from our time together at the February retreat, we've been working hard. So I just want to thank everybody. Everybody's doing a lot right now, and I really recognize it.
Thank you.
But that's not what my
agree.
update's about. So my update is about the public art renovation grant. As folks remember, we have $28,000 to help with some of our public art renovation projects. 20,000 of that comes from City Commission, and then we had 8,000 from our 24-25 enhancement grant. And I do have two things that I want to update people on. So one thing that is exciting is that the Parks and Recreation Department has decided to go forward with the Latcherette Park mural. We have received 2 applications for folks that have responded to our qualified vendor application. So I did print those out. I didn't have time to get it in today's packet because that literally just got scheduled before the packets even went out. But there is information in the meeting materials that I left with you on your desk that has information about the 2 artists. One is Kathy Rowe, the other artist's name is Rodolfo Serna, who's a Mexican-American artist out of Portland. Both have extensive mural experience, so I'm really excited that we had 2 really qualified applicants for the role. We're going to have a meeting with the Parks Department and with each of the candidates. Joyce has volunteered to represent the Arts Commission at those interviews. And my hope is that we will be able to select the artist and have that artist come to the May meeting. And then the work on the mural will take place in June. So that is that's a great update. I'm excited that we have some motion on the public art renovation.
So Parks is doing the selection.
Well, in addition to, the ultimate decision will be up to Parks, but both Joyce and I will be at the interview.
And we are doing it that way to avoid conflict. So we will approve the proposed renovation from the Parks, and Parks, as part of that proposal, will include who they have selected for the artist to do the renovation. And that way, we are not involved in selecting a vendor for a project that we're not overseeing. So.
There may even be the opportunity to have like a work party One thing that I'm interested in talking about with the selected artists is having like people in the public community, in the public also contribute to a painting party or something like that. I don't know how that will come together. It's really up to Parks and the artist, but I've suggested that that's something that we discussed as part of the interviews. And that is because historically, there have been neighborhood parties at that site before.
Have they received quotes from either artist on the proposed project?
Yes, so we've told people $12,000 is available per project, so they would be up to $12,000.
We have agreed to 12,000, right? So, but given that our timeline and what we think could happen in the next few months, we could change that, right?
Yes, I mean, that's true. If, depending on the number of projects, and as we are looking at June 30th coming quickly,
Yeah.
I mean, that is true that we could discuss that budget, but let's.
Okay. I mean, I guess I would like to keep that open, have the parks come to us with what they think the total cost would be, and then we can discuss that if we wanted to address more funds. Our parks can cover the difference, right?
Potentially. One other thing I do want to let this group know is that on Monday, both Trieste and I were at the Three Rivers Artists Guild event. And I made an announcement to remind folks to apply for the qualified vendor application. I did get one application this week from someone who's interested in the Salmon Bench project.
Okay. So they submitted for that through the qualified artist. What's the next steps there? To interview them and get a quote from them on what the cost would be?
Well, again, what we put out into the universe is that we're doing up to $12,000 per project through the Public Art Renovation Grant Program. So, people can
Correct.
work with that number, and, so I would, at our May meeting, we could have, a discussion potentially with both artists for both projects and see where we are with our funding. But the way we released the guidelines for the Public Art Renovation project said it was up to $12,000 per project, so whether that's a sufficient amount of money or if that, each person will have to put together a proposal that will tell us what they need
Okay.
to do and what their background and what they
Okay,
propose
so-
to do with the budget.
The plan is then to come to May with a proposal for the Salmon Bench as well. Okay.
So, if anybody has other questions?
I don't have a question, but I understand there's been a lot of controversy going on about this bench, and I'm not sure why.
It's just in need of
I mean, I know what's
repair.
wrong with it, but I've been hearing sort of out in the community, and I'm like, don't you want us to fix it? It's like, really?
Well,
Yeah.
we could decide, do we want to do a broader call, or do we need to repopularize the qualified vendor application? There could be a broader discussion about how many people are aware of the fact that these funding were available. But
We want you to get moving on it.
Oh, yeah, we're
Because the weather's
running on
gonna
time.
go into nice weather.
yeah, and I agree. I think, the intention was to get the funding out the door before June 30, and here we are in the middle of April, so.
Okay.
So we do have some time constraints to be aware of.
What is the feel from the rest of the commission on trying to advertise it out to additional artists who we want to get quotes from for the Salmon Bench?
So we only have one?
That's right. The thing,
One person showed interest.
we've been promoting the opportunity since,
So you've done your thing.
for several months, but.
Okay. It's hard.
One person, and that's, you go for it if
Yeah.
they're qualified.
And I do know that I believe you have as well, Trieste, but I know, Josh, you've been having several conversations with the original artist. There have been efforts, I believe, to identify folks to come forward.
Yeah, and the original artist said that the bench, she was surprised that the bench is still even around, because it wasn't designed to be an outdoor bench for that period of time. I forget how old it's been, but yeah. So,
Oh, wow.
It was installed in 2005. It's been there 20 years.
yeah.
So it had a shelf life?
Yeah, I guess she wasn't expecting it to be around as long as it has been.
That's
the
weird.
way it was designed was not for that long of a period of time, so.
So the expectation on her part was that it would be removed.
I guess, or yeah, that, I'm not sure.
I mean, if that's an option, we should discuss it.
I feel like we have had that discussion before about moving it somewhere else or
Yeah,
putting it into
somewhere more
storage.
protected, but I think that's a much bigger build
Yeah.
to move it, because it is cement underneath it, I believe. So, yeah. We can discuss them when we have the quote and see what their proposal would do in terms of refurbishing it, and if we think that would be enough, or if we want to go the route of placing it somewhere where it'd be more protected. So,
I'll admit, I would not have expected tile and grout exposed to the elements to have survived this long either.
yeah,
And we can patch it, but I have a feeling it will happen again if we consider this to be a permanent bench.
yeah.
Actually pretty cool. Yeah. I shouldn't say actually, like I'm surprised, but I hadn't looked at it in detail in a while, and given the beautiful sunny weather this week, I went up there and looked at it more closely, and there's some very cool detail there.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. And any other questions on the refurbishment or renovation grant? Okay. Next up is the art show subcommittee update and beneficiary. And that's me and Amanda. Amanda, I'll let you go first. If there's anything you want to update on.
Well, I did miss the meeting last Friday, so I don't have all the updates, but Trieste and I were able to go to ArcLight and get a little tour, and the facility is beautiful. We talked about options for where and how we could set things up, and I think that piece is going to be lovely. So I'm very excited about that.
And now we have the full space. So originally it was just gonna be the one, I'll call it ballroom, but now they're offering us the entire upstairs space. Is that my understanding?
Right, and I think part of their goal with that is that, there will be a lot of community members coming in to go to our art show, so they want to showcase the entire space.
Yeah.
It has, there's an area where there's a bar and some seating, but then there are also two other rather large rooms that are supposed to be sort of for like bride and groom to get ready for their wedding, but they're lovely rooms, and
Yeah.
so we'll be able to put art in there as well. There's seating and things like that. So I think that's all I have. I don't know, can we open up for Trieste to be able to talk? Because she probably has more information about how many artists we have signed up and those
Yeah.
sort of things.
I have the
at this
numbers,
point.
but Trish, if you want to come up, and I'm happy to welcome you up.
And do you have, wants to come down there, remember?
Introduce yourself and where you're from.
She's from there.
Is this on? Yeah. Josh, do you have that list that I gave?
Introduce yourself first,
Oh, I'm
sorry,
sorry.
for the record.
Trieste Andrews from Oregon City. Do you have that list that I gave you today? And what I was thinking, if you go through that, and if anybody has any
yeah.
questions, or you want me to clarify anything, I'm more than happy to do that.
Oh, I have it right here. So your numbers have been updated a bit since I think you emailed even today.
Right.
We were here earlier giving updates. So right now I have it 240
244 boards
boards,
given out already.
62 artists.
62 artists.
10 of those artists have not picked up yet, but everyone else has picked up their boards.
Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
And then in terms of outreach, we've talked to several organizations, Brush and Palette, Gladstone Community Art Workshop, Y East Art Organization, Three Rivers Artists Guild, Clackamas Community Arts Alliance, and then also up at the community college, you've been meeting with them as well. And then we also sent it out via our website or the city's website. I think on social media, we've sent it out. So we've started to get a lot of news and stuff out in the community. Anywhere else that is not on this list that I didn't mention?
No, that's it. I was pretty excited for the Art Commission to make a connection for you guys with the Clackamas Community College. I met with the faculty member that runs the gallery. She's also an instructor for 2 or 3 different classes, and then she connected me to who's over the whole art department so that we can connect. So I told them yesterday that, this is a quick turnaround. It's a quick turnaround for us, and that I would be more than willing to come up and give panels out at the college if we have people to sign up. And so I repeated that to the new contact, and said the Art Commission is going to be very excited to make a connection with the Clackamas Community College Art Department. So it was exciting. The support and the response from all of these art organizations was tremendous. I was like, what? Yeah. People are excited. People signed up, gave out so many panels. I'm also really excited about the response because, what you're always worried about is people sign up and then they just don't follow up. But with that many artists, 62 artists, we only have 10 artists left to pick up. And one thing we should maybe talk about, maybe it's a subcommission, is if we should plan one more pickup date. That might be a good idea, even if it's the one over at Clackamas Community College, might be a good idea, but we can see how that goes.
We have one more scheduled right now for this coming Sunday or Saturday?
Saturday over at the library on the second floor conference room. So I will have signs that go up there.
Okay.
Yeah, we had a family that came in tonight. They signed up 5 for every one of their kids. They picked up 30 panels. That was out of the blue. So I drive home and I have to bring up, got more panels, and then we only had 10 left tonight. I was like, oh no, if anybody comes. So yeah, I'm really, really happy with the response. Yeah.
Perfect. On here, you also noted that Brush and Palette also was willing to donate grids for hanging the artwork at the event.
Yeah.
And then we have some additional ones, correct?
Right. The plan is that the grids are super heavy. They're 2x6 and they are zip tied together, so they're double. So what you're going to do is you're going to put them out at an angle. So Brush and Palette has 4 double ones. That's 8 ones that'll fit 144 panels. They also are connecting with the North Clackamas Guild and Brush and Palette. One of the people there is doing an art show with all of those grids June 7th. So what we're going to do is pick up all the grids because we'll know how many we need by that time, and then we'll bring them all. Then my husband will get ready for them. We have looked at it in all different kinds of ways. There's this keyhole in back of every the panel, which is a little tricky. And what we finally came to terms with after testing it with screws and nails and everything, each grid will have, my husband's gonna build a rail that will have a slot inside of it. And then we'll have probably 3 of those per panel. And we're just gonna put those paintings in. Easy to take off, easy to put on. Trying to get a screw and put it over, and then you're like, what are we gonna do? Anyway, he's a genius. He used to work for a company that built museums, so he knows all kinds of stuff on how to hang stuff. That's it on the grids. I'm excited that we have that covered.
And then also you in your notes here, you talked about one of the things we found out while doing the outreach was that Three Rivers Artists Guild is also doing a 6x6 show later this year. And we've talked about after the event, if TREG artists want their pieces back, we're going to give them back to all the artists. And then we would also advertise that the 6x6 show for TREG is happening later that year, that people should reach out to TREG if they would like to talk to them about donating their pieces for that that work. That one's
Right.
a little bit different in terms of the structure, but yeah.
Yeah, we'll
So-
give just a little reminder to the drag artists, hey, don't forget your festival in August. Just, these are
Yeah.
the ones you need to come and pick up. Donate them to there if you can. Trying very hard not to step on anybody's toes. Like before I went there, I talked to the president of drag, the chair of the festival, and the person that is putting together their 6x6, because I wanted to make sure they felt that this was a partnership and we were not going to step on anybody's toes, but we were going to be able to support them rather than being, in competition with them.
I guess one thought I have, and I want to throw out to the group, but we can maybe even talk about at the subcommittee level too, is do anyone have any concerns with promoting other art events at our fundraiser event in June? So if we have a calendar of events or even just some literature that we want to offer, groups that have been supportive of our event, any thoughts, concerns, questions about that?
Well, it seems that if we open it to one group, you should open it to
Yeah.
not just that group, otherwise it seems a bit not
Correct.
right.
I think in the 6x6, we were thinking only because it's the size of the panels made sense that we would offer that one up, but, yes, if we're opening it up to any kind of literature about any group, we want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to
Yeah.
provide it. I'm thinking even just a calendar of upcoming art events, art shows in the area would be worth having present. Yes.
Did you get it cleared with the city attorney that I don't think we can do fundraisers as a
So
city entity?
James told us we couldn't fundraise for ourselves, but we could fundraise for an external,
Right, and so what is,
organization.
I read the minutes, what is this group? I'm just asking.
so then, yeah, that was one of our next thing is the beneficiary, we originally were identifying as the Oregon City School District to receive funds for,
Yeah, I remember that.
there are programs. After some initial discussion, we thought that the school district, given actually one of the city commissioners' role in both the city government
Yes,
and
he's an
was a
employee,
concern.
yeah.
So we actually, after talking to the school district, they suggested we maybe go and donate to the Oregon City School Foundation.
Okay,
So that foundation then has its own board that would make decision on where it would go.
Yeah.
We would sign an MOU with that organization that the funds would be applied to art programs, but which programs specifically would be completely up to that organization. So it removes us from
that's,
making.
yeah, they're legitimate and they're a 501, so all of that.
So yeah, I have not
I was just
heard
reading
that
the
we had talked
postcard
to
and it
legal
didn't
about
say
this.
Oregon City Schools Foundation, the one that was on in the packet.
Yeah, well, we
Correct,
may,
it was generalized because we were trying to finalize who it would be because of the concern, so we
Yeah.
just kept it general for now. When we start advertising it as the event, we would start putting in the foundation once we get that MOU signed.
I would just, as a precaution, James is not an attorney, and I would make sure that this got ran by our city attorney, just so, when I'm in doubt, I ask them, because I don't want to make assumptions. I don't want any blowback to come back on you guys at all, or the city, or anything. So if you guys, I think it's a great idea. I support the idea, but it's always just a good idea when we're kind of doing things that are a little bit different, just to check in with them, because we get them to check the box. We're all good,
Is there any concern?
because we've never really done that. We don't really take our money and give it to somebody other than the enhancement grants. We do that, but not a sitting board that is, other than the city commission. Now, we did the enhancement grants, we just did the major event grants, but that's a city program itself.
Is there any concern if we keep Ann, James, Tony copied, reaching out directly to the lawyers just to make sure we
No,
get a
you let
quicker
her do
response?
it. You're not gonna reach out to them.
Okay.
We're not really allowed to directly contact them. It always kind of has to go through staff.
Okay,
So
understood.
she can ask.
All right, we will make sure to do that.
I
Right.
would word it in the fact that this is what the Arts Commission would like to do. We're just double checking with you to make sure you're not totally asking their permission,
Right.
if you know what I mean.
Right.
You're kind of saying, are you okay with this?
Right. I'll make sure that that happens,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
we'll definitely consult with legal.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
And yeah, let them know that we'll be bringing an MOU here soon, so we need a quicker response. I know they can get busy at times, so.
Well, they have so many people there that do different things, so it's not
Yeah.
like just like when we used to have an in-house where we had one person, and that made a lot of difference. So they have a whole host of people.
Some of my other notes here, Trias, and feel free to add to this, was that we're also looking, calling for all commissioners, we need volunteers for the night of. We had done a analysis of possible roles, so we have about 20 volunteer positions for that night that we need to fill. So if commissioners are available, we highly would appreciate your help. If you have loved ones that you would like to donate to that volunteer pool, please.
Volunteer.
Yes.
People, yes.
Yes.
What is the
I've heard
date
about
and
that.
the time?
June 14th.
But the time?
6 to 9 is the time of the event. Some of the volunteer positions, of course, would need to be there earlier. We'll get more details on that, but if you can only be there from 6 to 9, then we can make that work.
We are going to be setting up on Friday from 1 to whenever, and Mandy will be there with me, and then maybe anybody else. As we get closer, we'll see if we need some more help. I'm sure my husband will be there because those grids are super heavy, but we can bring them up in the elevator.
The other thing was, we're also looking for a few more silent auction items.
Yeah.
Trias has put together a few packages already that we've discussed at the subcommittee level. But if you have other artists that you want to ask or people you want to encourage, we're again promoting it, but looking for any donations that people want to make, so.
Right. We were thinking in terms also of experience. So one of the things, I have 2 season tickets from the Clackamas Repertory Theater. I'd like to match that with like maybe $100 dinner gift certificate from Nebbiolo's or Canards, or maybe even the new Italian place on Main Street if they want to kind of, and just make a little package of dinner and theater night. I was thinking of anybody that teaches, maybe do a wine and paint night at somebody's home. So you come to their home and, so you don't have to, deal with any alcohol, but you're in somebody's home doing that. So anything that anybody is comfortable with, I don't know, people here know how to knit, or, things that people would be like, oh yeah, that sounds like really fun. I'd like to bid on that. I think the big item on that, and maybe another, let me know if this is really a subcommission decision, is, maybe it is, it's the issue of whether we do it as a silent auction or whether we do it as raffles, which is
Yeah, we
easier
talked
to do.
about different structures for it.
Yeah.
So I think, let's maybe
Let's
bring
do
it
that
back up at the
subcommission.
subcommittee.
I want to take up the
But
time.
unless anyone has opinion they want to put forward here as
Yeah.
well.
Joyce cannot hear us, she says.
Oh,
Joyce, can you hear us now?
She's laughing.
that's a yes? Sorry.
I can hear you now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Did you have any questions, Joyce?
No.
Didn't hear us.
Okay.
Okay. And then lastly, we've been scheduling subcommittee meetings about every 2 weeks on Friday afternoons. So the next time would be next Friday. So if we wanted to get that agendized tomorrow, I just wanted to confirm that that works for people who are attending and anyone else who wants to attend. Friday at 5,
It's the subcommittee, right?
subcommittee, yeah.
Okay.
Next Friday at 5.
Next Friday at
Next
5,
Friday,
Yes.
April 25th.
So remember, if you get to quorum, we have to advertise it.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm planning to post the agenda tomorrow.
perfect.
You said at
Nobody
5?
will come, but then,
Yeah,
there's always that one
but we can
person.
adjust
Oh,
that if necessary.
And we're in crunch time. I mean, we're fitting a 6-month event into 2 months. So any way that you can come, please come.
And that will be on Zoom.
Yes.
Yes, and do it on Zoom.
Yes. Friday afternoons, that would be,
I know that's a
we'll do in
tough one.
person.
Anything else that you and I went over with the other day as we were sitting? We did kind of a little, this is how many volunteers we need.
I don't have anything else on my notes. I think that was the major things that we wanted to bring up at this meeting, and then the rest we can talk about at the subcommittee.
Sure. Anybody have any questions?
I have an odd one. What are you going to do with the art that is not picked up?
Well, the people will have to, all I can do is, like, I'm building an email list now
Use it or
of
lose
all
it.
the participants so that I can give them out. And that you can only ask people, if they're not gonna pick up and those are left over, what do you feel about donating those to the Three Rivers Artist Guild show to kind of give them a little bit of a boost to
I'd be
start
happy
their
to
show?
explore that option.
Okay, it's a good question, Amy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think some of our intent was if someone sold a couple of their pieces and we had checks for them, maybe that'd be motivation to come pick up their pieces as well, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
I have a question. What are we doing to ensure or to have a sense of whether people are not picking up the panels just to use them for their own thing, but not to participate?
Well, what I was really pleased with, there's only 10 people right now that haven't picked up their panels. And that's the only thing. Every time that I have a pickup date, I give everybody that hasn't picked up panels yet, I give them a notice. I say, don't forget.
I wasn't, sorry to interrupt, I wasn't asking about pick up, I was more about if they pick up, then
Oh, I
they
see
do
what you
art
mean.
and they give it to us, but like, what if they just pick up and they just keep them, you know what I mean?
I know, I was thinking about that today, Daria. And
Yeah.
I don't have
We
an
don't have-
answer for that unless it's the price of doing business. I don't know, so.
And are we keeping like a track of who picks up their contact details or something, so we
Yep.
can
Yeah, we have
follow
all
up?
that.
Everything
But
for
all
that.
we can do is try
Prompt
and
them,
call them
remind
and
them.
ping
Yeah.
them, but if they don't return them, they don't return them.
Yeah.
There's nothing we can do.
Send them an invoice, I don't know.
I mean, I do think in the agreement that what was in the guidelines that each artist pick up, it tells that they have to have the art done by a certain date and where they have to turn it in. Is that
Yep,
correct?
that's all.
But I think
There's lots of
Darius is
things, yeah.
saying,
No, I know,
yeah,
but I just mean, we have everybody's phone number, we have their email, we
Yeah.
have their,
Yeah.
so if we don't get a piece from
Yeah, we
them-
can hunt them down with the lead pipes, I think we're good.
Nice.
okay. Any other questions for Trius or about the arts?
I don't think there are any other city events or other events that conflict with this, and so I noted so I will be happy to be a volunteer.
Oh, I love it.
So-
Yeah, we're
I
gonna
don't-
need a lot of volunteers, but
Yeah.
it is gonna be a blast.
Well, we also have some people, we can reach back out to them. I know like the assistant superintendent for the school district, like she would be happy to volunteer
Oh,
and
great.
support. So I
Yeah.
think we'll get some people from the school district who are happy to help support the event and promote it.
Right.
So they offered to advertise it through their Peachtree, is
That's
that
what
the
they
right?
call it, yeah, it's Peachtree,
Yeah.
yeah.
Which basically sends text messages out to all the parents in the school district.
Right, right. The Rotary Club just asked me to go on the calendar for June 11th to talk about the arts, but I really wanted to bring somebody from the Art Commission with me, even if it's Ann or if it's you, Josh, or,
What
you
date?
know, it's going to be June 11th, just before the 6x6 show. They're really good at volunteering, so maybe if by that time we don't feel we have enough volunteers, we can even ask them if they want to show up that day and help out. We want because there's so many rooms and what we really want to do for them is we're going to have signs on every room, more art, because for the arc light, we want to make sure they get as much visibility as possible for the whole space. And they were excited about that. So we're going to have a volunteer in every room, if it's only a double grid. For the large ballroom, which we might have 4 grids there, we'll have a person on either side, a volunteer. So people are watching the art, they make sure it doesn't run away, doesn't grow legs and go away. And yeah, you're thinking of doing the first hour for hors d'oeuvres and greeting and view the art, and then at 7, you can start to choose your art. But there'll be music all night, and Mandy's taking care of that, and it's gonna be amazing.
Great. Well, thank you, Trius.
All right, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Next up, we have the Art for Every Heart contest update. I will pass it over to Joyce and Ann.
Lots of great movement here as well. Are you comfortable giving
Okay.
a report, Joyce?
No. We are pretty much ready to go. We just need to get notification out to our budding artists. I'm gonna go ahead and make calls to the elementary school. I'll start with whoever's in the office and, give them a rundown of what we're doing. And if they want to get an email that they can distribute, or if they want me to bring flyers, I can do that too. But everything's posted on the website, and it looks really good.
So we are gonna start doing social media about it next week. So the contest officially starts next Wednesday, the 22nd. And there is a flyer here in the packet that I put out. We did put it up on the website, as Joyce said, and we'll start doing social media next week about it. We were originally talking about a first prize of $1,000. We decided that was too high. And really anything over $600, you start to get into an issue with, and it's hard with kids and W-9 forms and that kind of thing. So we decided the maximum award could be $500. So, we also got some really good feedback from Rebecca about how we categorize our, the two different categories. I don't know, do you want to say a word about what you were suggesting, or I can if you don't want to, but.
Just that it was just clarifying what the difference is between the visual representation of what Art for Every Heart means. For adults, we can say things like design and logo and stuff like that, but it was more clarifying language so that a student would understand the difference between that and an artistic response. And the artistic response being, it could be a poem, it could be a song, something you play on the guitar, a dance, any kind of performance, sculpture, whatever. So there was just language that I spent a little bit of time clarifying the difference between those two. And then we came up with first, second, and third prize for each, with a cash prize for each level. So we still get to spend the $2,000, but like Ann said, once you go over $600, you run into some stuff, and so it was like $500, $300, $200 for second, third prize.
Okay.
For each of those categories. And then again, they'll get represented on the website.
Yeah, so represented on the website, right now we're having people send in pictures. I take it though, the winners, we want to work with them to get some type of high resolution scan just to make sure that it's really good quality. So I don't know if that's included in any of the documentation or something we want to message out at some point, but that would be, I think, a thing we'd want to figure out.
Yeah, we just said that it needs to be high quality photograph.
Okay.
We didn't put in the specific resolution requirement for the
Okay.
photograph. We did say if you're uploading a video to keep it to 90 seconds.
Okay.
So,
We don't want any hour
we don't
long.
want an hour long. So in the 90-second video, you can do a lot. So,
Okay.
so if people do sing a little bit of a song, or they can send us a link. So that's kind of fun, and yeah.
Any other questions for Joyce and Ann?
Is the screen not working?
Excuse me?
Is the screen not working? The screen, that one.
Oh.
Did they take it away?
Oh, no,
We never use it typically.
Oh, because I realized Joyce, hi Joyce, she was behind me and I thought, where is she talking
do
from?
you want me to lower that?
No, I'm good. I can hear her.
Okay, because yeah, usually we just use that if there's a presentation, but.
I just want to thank Joyce for taking the reins on this and
Yeah.
getting out there and making the connections with the schools.
Awesome.
No.
Okay, nothing else. Website update.
That would be me. So Ann and I did a lot of work, and also kind of what Trieste was saying, like we basically have 2 months to do a website. But we picked our designer, who we absolutely, really, really adore. It's Dave Garlock with Ink Stained Creative. He's local in the area, and that was one goal that we had, was to work with somebody who was actually physically local and kind of knew about Oregon City, lived in the area. That was really important. His aesthetic also was very important. You know, a lot of times art websites can be a little bit intimidating for people if they don't understand the arts or they haven't been exposed to the arts in a certain way. And so we wanted to make sure that it had a very open and friendly and inviting feel to it. And Dave has done, he did like the Oregon City Farmers Market website. He's done a whole bunch, but also, and this particular website, which is in the Couve, Inspire Arts, he did that one, ENSPIRE Arts. And so he has a whole bunch of examples of all the different types of websites that he's built. And for the sake of, you know, administrative tasks, we decided for this year that it would be easier if Dave did the hosting and the website maintenance instead of us trying to manage it on our own. So he will be doing that as well. The Earl was purchased by Mike Dubai by the city, so that's already there. It's ocartscommission.com. And yeah, and then as soon as the contract is done and signed, then Dave's gonna get to work. And then Ann and I will really get to work because we'll have a whole bunch of pictures to find and copy to write.
I just zoomed through their webpage so you can see a little bit of their stamp, but it's ink stained creative.
Thanks. Any
And Jared
questions?
signed off on all this?
Oh, yeah, no, we have an MOU between.
Okay, good.
The
Awesome.
between the communications team, the IT team, and economic development, so three-way
And
chat.
he also has the branding guidelines for the
Right,
city,
yeah, I
so
saw it
he
on his desk
knows.
the other day, and so I was looking at it.
Yeah.
Because we were actually talking about something else. but
Yeah,
I-
so Dave knows like that, he knows all of the,
And the city owns the domain.
correct. The city owns the domain. It is our responsibility as an arts commission to, you know, maintain it and host it. And as Josh has noted before in the past, you know, there's always expenses that come with a website. And so this will be something that we need to build into our budget moving forward.
Yeah. Okay, any questions on the website?
Good work.
Yeah, and
That's our stuff. Good
Rebecca
for you.
has done a lot of work and she's
Yeah,
really
thank
helped
you.
me shepherd. I appreciate your knowledge of, you know, where to put the DNS and where to do this and just what are the things that we should look for in terms of hosting it ourselves or having an outside vendor do that. And so thank you for all of your efforts.
And do we have a timeline on when you think the contract will get signed with the vendor?
Well, I gave it to him today. I'm sorry. He's got the templates. I've had our risk management people look through all the add-ins and the standard personal services contract forms that
Okay.
the city issues. It has been approved. And, so he received it on Tuesday. He said it looked great to him. So I just have to get back his signature. So to answer your question, like Monday or Tuesday.
Is
Okay.
that something the city commission has to approve? Because the city's entering into a contract with somebody? And we're expending city funds? A lot of
But
times they go on it's consent agenda.
Well, I can find out if that, I didn't think we needed to do that since it was a
What's
fund.
the amount?
It's like $2,300.
2,300? Yeah, no, don't have to go to us. We have a threshold.
Yeah. Okay.
We very seldom do not approve something that's on the consent agenda. Usually
Yeah.
we'll pull it off because everybody's got questions, but usually the questions have for the last 6 months have been so minuscule. I just say, okay, before we vote on it, ask your question, and then if you want to pull it, pull it. And if
Yeah.
you don't, let's move on.
No, it wasn't that. It was just like Rebecca was saying, our runways, we're just trying to make sure we have as long a runway as we can for everything. So anything else where it could get stuck, we're just
You want your water?
avoiding. Perfect. Next thing up is artist spotlight suggestion. Anne, over to you.
Well, as you know, we, the Economic Development Department puts out a quarterly newsletter.
And you guys were.
And you guys have been in it. And would like to highlight a business every quarter and an artist every quarter. And so I wanted to talk to this group about how do we pick a local artist to feature in these economic development update quarterly newsletters. It was easy to highlight Jen and our Elemental Love work that she did because it was an Arts Commission project. But going forward, I want to start to spotlight different artists in the Oregon City community. And I just wanted to ask for feedback from this group. How do we pick folks? How do we highlight, what should be the process for, illustrating someone in this quarterly publication?
My first question is, would we want to spotlight someone that the commission is working with?
I think that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then that narrows it down.
But I mean,
Except for, well, now we have how many that are gonna do this fundraiser, so.
yeah, that's true. So I mean, I think that makes sense if we select the artist that we select to do the salmon bench, the artist we select to do the mural. I mean, yes, that makes good sense. I know there's so many other, creative
What's your
folks.
timeline for the next spotlight?
Oh gosh, it's very soon. It's like within 2 weeks.
Do we already have a musician chosen for the show?
No, but we can choose one and then we could spotlight that
There you go.
musician.
It would be
Okay.
nice to do something that's not visual and, that's more performance-based.
Yeah, because we did sculpture before, so music or performance.
So would it be easier, instead of working really hard to try to be objective, with actually choosing, what if you had a list and you'd have to come up with the criteria for getting on this list, but then it was just out of a hat? And that's who got pulled, and we didn't have things of favoritism. Yes, ma'am.
I'll throw out a suggestion. Why don't you start featuring some of the artists whose art is actually on display around town? So obviously we just did something, we could do more with Jenny, but the people that painted maybe those murals, if they're around, I mean, again, that would expose people to people that have already done stuff and say, oh, by the way, their work is X. Have you driven, maybe they drive by it every day and they never really look at it. And so you've got people who've done things in our community that focusing on what they have done might be a really good place to start. And then you can do your random people, but we've got the mural in the library that Kathy Rowe did. Every time I talk to somebody, I said, have you been to see the mural in the library? Have you been to see the mural? Brian, who did the work on White Rabbit Building, but also did the middle panel, and maybe that gal from West Lynn who did the other half of the mural.
That's true.
Focus on stuff that's here to get people to pay attention to what we have.
That's true, and as you're talking, Mayor McGriff, it made me really remember the two artists that we have that did the downtown bathroom. Those are big folks there.
Exactly.
There's also, if we wanted to highlight, the Repertory Theater, they're starting their season here soon. We could highlight that to advertise, or the orchestra, which I'm not blinking on if it's.
Willamette Falls Symphony.
Yeah, the symphony. That's another good one, because I don't know how many people actually know that we have a symphony here, and highlight them and they're a performance group. So I don't know, what are some thoughts on people and.
You've already given me some really good ideas.
Well, someone like Kathy Rowe would be probably the fastest and easiest if we have a deadline in 2 weeks. My other question is, who is the target audience of the newsletter? Who reads this?
Yeah, that's a good question too. I mean, we do give it to all of our city commissioners, we give it to staff, we give it to, it's into other economic development organizations, people who have already subscribed to it. A number of local businesses have subscribed to it. It's still a relatively new thing. We're only in this is the third one. So it's still a relatively new publication, but we've, put it out there. Residents and businesses have signed up. But it's
Yeah, and I
it's a
took
growing
a
number.
bunch to, I did a recent presentation called State of the Cities, where it was Oregon City, Happy Valley, Gladstone, and us, and I took a bunch of those to that because a lot of people in the North Clackamas Chamber may not know what. So I carry some in my car and our newsletter. I mean, I carry a bunch of stuff in my car. And if I'm someplace and I have an opportunity to leave it, I leave it. And then if they don't get picked up, so I'll be taking some stuff like that to the Oregon Mayors Association when I go in August, when the next version comes out, or the League of Oregon Cities. I figure I have a right to brag about my town. And Happy Valley's always bragging about, oh, we have so much money. I love them, but
But it's not something that's being mailed out
No,
to
no.
all of Oregon
No,
City or anything
no,
like
it is
that?
not.
Okay, so
But
it's
we
more
keep
targeted
them here,
towards
they're
city
at the
officials
library,
and that sort of thing.
And it's available, so
Okay.
there's a bunch out there, so people come into City Hall, and a lot of times people just go through the rack and they pick stuff up. We have some at the library, so they're in a lot of our facilities. There's handouts at Public Works. So that is, it gets out, but we don't mail it like we do Trail News or anything like that.
Right. Okay.
And if you guys are gonna include artists, what about that report that came out that said how much art money comes into the area? I didn't say that right. How much money comes into the area because of the arts?
The report that was done by the Clackamas County Art Alliance.
Yeah, I forget what
highlight
it's
that.
named. But make sure that we always include that because I don't think people realize how much money actually comes in because of the arts.
In fact, that CODA report that I shared earlier, but yes, I think that makes sense to highlight some of the, those dollar figures, that's important. Thank you very much for the feedback.
Awesome. Any other comments, questions on that topic? Okay, next up is review of the May report to the City Commission. So, as we talked about a little bit last meeting, the plan is to do a report out sometime in May with the City Commission on what we've been working on as a Oregon City Arts Commission. I've put together a slide deck. My plan is to also make this into a written form. I'm going to try and share it on the screen.
Sure, if you want me to look at it, I'll get the sneak peek. And
So-
also, if you have an idea of how much, I've been requested to limit the time of these presentations because we just had one that went on for about 20 minutes. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna cut people off because I think it's information. So if you wanna, when you do it, you might wanna just practice.
I'm trying to keep it a little bit short and just anticipate questions and answering questions.
Yeah, so I'm not even gonna go there. I said it's up to me, but if they start,
Yeah.
the guys start complaining about it, I might have to pay attention to them.
So this is a general overview of the Arts Commission. I put in here current commissioners to highlight all of you. I also put in there at the bottom, I wanted to highlight to the commission the number of hours we're spending outside of our meetings here to try and promote the Oregon City Arts Commission, fulfill its mission of trying to get more arts in Oregon City.
Are two different people.
I would say
sorry,
to
that-
date,
that
your
again?
volunteer hours are 250 because you've not been.
Oh, are they on the same?
We are one.
Okay.
I was gonna say, there's been a Vulcan mind meld here.
We've merged.
What is that? Active
representing
twins or whatever? Yeah.
That's not your hours from 2025, is it?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what were your hours for 2024?
I don't have those. I know in this year though alone, I'm probably spending at least 6 to 8 hours a week.
Okay, well then put
Myself.
down to date because it looks like you're done. You were overall. I would say volunteer hours to date are
Okay.
X
Yep.
and counting. I mean, I didn't.
counting.
Yeah, because all the websites.
Put a plus.
Yeah.
Yeah,
250
Yeah, we're gonna
plus.
hit that.
50 plus, yeah.
Yeah. So that's the first slide. Next slide was talking about the audit that we did and the outcome from that of prioritizing pieces of art to refurbish. I highlighted here too that we have 136 pieces of total art in the Oregon City Art Collection. That's I think, a significant number that most of our city commissioners might not recognize that we have that, because not everything is actually out in public. And if you have questions, throw them out as I go through this. I was going to go through this a little quick, but next one is restoring our past dues. So this talks about what we were just mentioning about the grant, and I'll put in here some more information if we do end up, well, it'll depend on when we decide on the Laureate project or not, but I will make verbal note that we've been talking to the Parks and Rec group about that project. This mural that I have highlighted here, unfortunately, this wasn't one that we actually approved. It was one that I think the business owner went out and did themselves and had restored, but it does highlight, I think at least the ramification, the impact of having these pieces restored, and the vibrancy that they bring to the city. So, next was the new artwork piece here, highlighting that, the process it took to go through all of that, to get everything approved, and then also the turnout we had at the event itself was excellent, with 70 plus people in attendance to witness the unveiling and the ribbon cutting, and then come over here for refreshments afterwards. 2025, now looking at what we're doing in terms of the project. So we have by June 30th.
MOU, the O is capitalized as well.
Sorry, where is the O?
First sentence, MOU,
Oh,
First bullet,
first bullet.
okay. Yep, I'll take that note.
or second bullet, rather.
So we've signed the MOU, have the website going. We have the 6x6 art show fundraiser scheduled for June 14th. And then conducting the youth art contest to find new design for the motto, Art for Every Heart. Anything else in 2025 that we want to highlight that we're working on?
Would you go back to the previous slide?
Yep.
Something stood out to me that was kind of, where you say in the third bullet, it says the Oregon City Arts Commission ended up selecting. It just sounds like, well, she was the only one left and so we picked her. I would use a more positive word.
Just say selected.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or just say
Selected.
after, because you had a proposal, we selected or we voted or whatever to, because ended up kind of,
Understood, yeah.
it just kind of sounds like,
Sure. Okay, and then anything else 2025 that we want to highlight? Okay. The next thing was partnerships. I wanted to highlight that we are expanding our reach and building relationships with other organizations in the community. Clackamas Art Alliance, Public Art Commission Committee, which Joyce and Amy have been working with, the Oregon City School Foundation. I might even add in here, like we've been, Oregon City School District itself, Corridor 43 project, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit. The Clackamas County Cultural Coalition, we're submitting a grant. We've submitted a grant request with them, which was due today, to get funding for the literary artist talks that we didn't approve for budget from this year budget, but if we don't get the grant, we might think about it again for next year or the next biennium. And then if there's any other partners that you want me to throw out here on the outreach, I'm happy to do so.
Didn't Trieste mention Clackamas Community College?
We've been talking to them about promoting the 6x6 thing. Do we want to add them as,
Three Rivers Artists Guild.
well, yeah, all of those we've been talked to. We haven't done any specific like coordination projects, just promoting the 6x6 show. So that's where I was kind of defining the distinction, but I'm happy to add all of those in there, that we communicate with them regularly on our projects.
Why did you add the last thing as a note, rather than just make it a sentence?
It was just a reminder when I'm giving the presentation to note that we are talk about, there's other
So
groups that we.
I'd put it in as another statement that you're making, rather than,
Sure, we can do that.
it's always easier to edit somebody else's work, believe me.
No, the hardest thing is always the first draft. After you get through the first draft,
Sure.
It
No,
goes
you've
much
done a
faster,
really
so.
good job. It just, like I said, there's a couple of those things just, it just popped right out at me because
Yeah.
my eye went right to it, and I thought, oh, yeah, that sounds a little on the negative side. You know, make this sound as positive as possible.
Yeah. Next thing is talking about our work that we've been starting to get into for the foundations of our organization. So we have the strategic plan, which we haven't dug into too much yet, but we've been talking about the last few months. And our plan is to get it, moving hopefully out by September of this year. And then establishing the handbook, which includes the protocols that Daria has started, which is a tremendous amount of work getting that going. We've met with the city recorder today to talk through that and what we can do to get that moving in the right direction or moving forward. So those things are important to establish. And then,
Suggestion, so rather than say the first piece or new pieces, I would say implementing new initiatives which will drive our efforts in the future. Because aren't you talking about an initiative of some sort? When you say pieces, I'm thinking, okay, are you developing an art piece? You're doing something?
okay,
I don't think pieces,
yep. Oh,
so the first of these, is blah, 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 the 5-year plan or 3 to 5 year strategic plan.
yeah, we can make that change.
And if you want, we can also review this with Jared, just because he's used to editing things for the city commission's digestion. Digestion is a funny word.
Shine.
Next, I wanted to start bringing up some of the challenges that we're facing and make them specific requests to the Oregon City Commission. So the first thing is we realized that both of the municipal codes that really impact our work, both need to maybe be looked at and addressed and updated. For example, the chapter 2.26, which defines the Arts Commission's role and responsibilities, is 25 years old, has never been updated, and it probably should be looked at. And so we're going to be looking at that. Daria's actually we're going to propose and bring it back to the Arts Commission. The other one, which is covered up by the Zoom thing here, is the 15.28, which is the mural code. One of the things we talked about there was trying to at least get a reprieve from having us have to approve any murals that are maybe funded by us, but on public buildings. So trying to mitigate that issue within the code, which we ran into previously.
Explain that.
So right now, if we wanted to fund a mural on a public piece of property, so at a park, we couldn't approve it ourselves because we are also the ones that approve murals. We couldn't fund it ourselves because we're also the ones that approve the murals. As a quasi-judicial board, we can't also be the funder of a project.
Right, and I don't think you're going to get the code changed on that. It's a clear conflict of interest.
But what Jacob was recommending was if we said any murals on public property would not have to go through the mural approval process.
We did have a really good meeting today with Jacob Wiley, the city recorder, as Josh just mentioned, and there were a couple things in the code, like he says, 25 years old, and still refers to a trust that hasn't existed in like 6 or 7 years. There's a number of things in there that the language needs to be revised. Pointing that out, there's a very important issue about raising monies for a mural. So he suggested that we host a work session between the Arts Commission and the City Commission to talk through some of those things. So it's going to take some time to get it going, but
I would revise your first paragraph. I think I know what you're trying to say there, but you started it with a prepositional phrase. So start with the municipal code does not provide a pathway for funding any new mural that they're, see, I think what I was understanding, the problem was, is you guys were funding it, you also wanted to do it, and I thought, when we approve stuff as a commission, even though it's our Parks Department that's doing the work, we're not doing it. We would never be able to do that. And so if the Arts Commission is funding something, they also, it's like the city commission, if we were funding something, we can't also do it.
So I think in this case, what the distinction we're trying to make is we wouldn't require a mural that is on public property to be approved through the common mural process that we have
And
under the
why
city.
not?
Because that would allow us to then fund it, and if we're not, then also being the quasi judicial board that approves it, then it.
No, you're not doing land use, that's what quasi judicial is, you're not doing any land use.
Well, this is all coming from the conversation we
Yeah.
had earlier
With-
or
yeah, well,
last
I
year.
understand, Jacob, quasi judicial has to do with either the historic review board, city commission, or the city council, or the.
I'm referring to what legal counsel told us, they
Right.
called us a quasi judicial board.
Yeah, and you're not, because you're not making a decision that affects a land
That's-
use decision.
Then you're
I
gonna have to
understand.
talk to legal about that, because
I
legal
understand.
We'll tell
put that in a statement to
Yeah,
us, so.
Yeah, right.
Again, I get, both of these, there's confusion and there's things that could be cleared up and clarified. So we're hoping to bring forward, talk here in the commission, bring forward a proposal that we can then work with the city commission on a work group, on a work session with, to try and help clarify and clean up some of that stuff.
Yeah, well, again, we fund stuff as a city, and you're part of the city, but we don't actually execute it.
That's right.
We have somebody else do it.
Yeah, I'm not saying we'd be out there painting it, but I'm saying, if we wanted to partner with the park and say, hey, we have money to do a mural at this park, we want to give, basically pay for it to be done, select an artist, with you, or if you want us to select the artist, but because we don't have to approve the mural itself through our program, we would, be okay with funding it from a legal perspective.
Yeah, so there's a.
Yeah, we'll
it's
talk
an
it out some
important
more,
issue.
because
Yeah.
it makes, I would prefer
I
having.
agree with you.
I would prefer having you guys approve it, because what if somebody wants to put up you fund the mural, and then they come up with a design and we go, oh, I'm sorry, that just doesn't work, or the surrounding community doesn't particularly like this. And by going through a review, it allows the opportunity for comment.
But we can't select anything on a mural based on the content.
I know that.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, all the other murals that we have in town have been reviewed by your predecessors. They were not just, even the one that was done on the trolley one, they brought it to, said, this is what I'd like to do, and they said, yeah, that's great, go for it.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I think we need to get more clarification around it, but.
because we're interested in continuing to support public murals,
Right.
we want to try to understand, is there a way and a role that we can play to contribute financially to that? And there's a conflict with also being the regulators, so just,
It shouldn't matter if it's not, what if they want to put a mural up on a school district building? They're a public entity, but you're gonna fund it, but to me, that doesn't matter.
so I think really we want to
We'll
give.
talk
I think I agree with you, but I'm running into issues when we proposed this before, we ran into a lot of roadblocks.
Okay, so we'll get
Yeah.
it fixed.
And it's
Yeah.
just a good idea to highlight and let the city commission know that we will be meeting with them later in the year, and we'll probably have 1 or 2 work sessions to determine these things.
The other thing, because it'll be kind of in the midst of the budget review cycle, as I wanted to bring up budget as an issue. I was gonna reach out to Emma to get the figures she had that she referenced at the last meeting, or just look them up on the video online. But she mentioned, given a city our normal size of budget, we would expect a much larger portion directed towards public art. I wanted to highlight that. I wasn't necessarily going to suggest we go for that full amount, but I threw in some numbers here on the right, kind of give some more details on what a more substantial budget would look for. I know James said that he was gonna suggest 50,000 to the thing, but I think like we did last biennium, pushing it here and then also going to the budget meetings themselves and making a statement of what we think is a more reasonable amount for the projects and the cost of doing public art these days would be good, so.
I would definitely recommend that you put down the minimum, because I can tell you right now, pie in the sky is not gonna happen. I'm not gonna get into detail because we haven't had our first budget hearing, but it's coming up, and there is it's not looking great. And I'm not really excited about it.
Yeah. I also highlighted here at the bottom, just FYI, with, if we don't get all the funding we need to do all the projects we want to do in the next biennium, and we go out to grants, one of the things that we would really appreciate help with is getting more traction with the finance department. I personally, and maybe it's just me, have had difficulties in the past with them in getting information from them and getting support from them on projects we need or want to do. So I do want to highlight that, but I'm happy to rescind that comment if people feel uneasy about it.
Just don't ask the week before the budget's being turned in.
That was part of my hesitation with it, but I wanted to throw it out there.
Roughly equate to a what? Okay, so you've got figures in there.
I've got to add figures, but yeah.
I think this is really, I'm really glad that we're getting into the habit of meeting annually with the city commission. I think that's exactly right. Other city groups, you know, PrAC and others have regular meetings with city commission.
Everybody generally does, yes.
Yeah, and we can help you. Yes, this is great. This is a good draft.
Okay.
Yeah, I apologize. If you could fix your, sorry, it's my background in English. If you could do a subject and a verb and then your statement, it would make it read easier, because you're starting with a prepositional phrase. So according to a study, would say Oregon City's about 38,000. So you're saying that cities of our size have an arts budget of approximately blank % based on da-da-da-da-da. So, and this is, you're gonna compare it to cities in Oregon, or you're talking about cities nationwide?
I have to get the stats.
I mean, I'm just trying to get
Yeah,
understand.
but it's, I think her statement was referring to cities in Oregon City and in other parts of the country as well, but are similar size in terms of population.
Yeah, so I would definitely say that. I would say things like that to me are more compelling if I know my neighboring jurisdictions are doing something. So like when we just did a recent study on systems development charges, we compared ourselves to our adjacent communities and said, well, Gladstone does this, and even though they're not the same size, but they all have SDC budgets. And we found out that Gladstone charges like up the wazoo for SDC, so we're well below Gladstone, which I'm so grateful. But we are higher than.
Competitive nature is what I
Yeah,
hear.
well, it's not competitive. We're not trying to compete. We're trying to understand
Yeah.
work that goes involved in doing the work that the SDCs get charged to. Is it proportional? And are we looking at it as indexing it? Are we keeping the cost of doing that work with, with the CPI or of inflation? And so they've added, the inflationary criteria. Did you hear somebody knock on the door?
That was
Yeah,
Miriam.
Myra
Oh.
went.
I don't know if
think
she
someone
saw
was
something.
knocking.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh,
A person.
our AV guy was outside. Okay, so that's it in terms of what I had proposed. Are there any questions, comments, additional things that we add? I took down notes on things to go back and fix. Any other feedback?
I just wanted to say thank you for putting this together.
It's
This
a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. And I don't think you should have to give the presentation by yourself. So I would suggest that as many of us that can be there as possible would be fantastic.
It makes a lot of difference.
Yes.
When is this?
So it'd be sometime in May. It's the first and third Wednesday of every month, right? So the first Wednesday of May is what, the 7th or something?
Yes.
Yeah, we meet on the first.
That was a guess.
We meet on the
You
first.
got it.
third. Yeah, yeah. I would shoot for the 3rd to give yourself as much time as possible. Or if you have,
Well, I think.
you can push it to, so it's the 7th and the 21st, and then it's the 4th and 18th of June.
Yeah, I think I wanted to, because we're talking about the budget, I wanted to get it in during the budget review time frame, which I think the 21st is at the very end of that. So I don't know if it'd be better to do it on the 7th, even though it's a shorter runway, but
Well, this presentation should not be an ask, I can tell you that.
it should not be an ask.
No. If you want to ask for additional funding, you need to come to the budget meetings and when there's public testimony.
Well, I was gonna do both, yes.
Yeah, don't do an ask. When the end of the Oregon Trail people came, there was, well, we need all this stuff, and I had looked at the guys, they were not happy.
Okay,
So I would not do that.
okay,
I would not be asking for additional money during so this is an overview of what you've been doing. That's what this
Yes.
is supposed to be.
it was an overview of what we've been doing, and then also some of the things that we have found challenges that we're looking for ways to address.
Exactly, and that's okay, but then when you get into saying, well, we need this amount of money, I'm saying from what the reaction was the last time,
Yeah, I guess it
Please
wasn't gonna
don't come in and
be
ask for
a
money.
direct ask, it was gonna be like, this is, we're planning to come to the budget committee, with a proposed budget like this, and just highlight, again, just it's repetition of sharing the information.
Yeah.
So,
make
Yeah.
that
Maybe
as
it's not
minimalist as
proposed.
possible.
okay,
Maybe it's not about proposing the budget, because it sounds like you're asking, but maybe it's a different terminology when it's an
That's
example
exactly-
budget, and that's
that's
what's
exactly-
written on the left.
That's exactly
As an
right.
example, here is how actually, based on our size and percentage, the budget
Yeah.
would look like, ideally.
See, that
sounds good.
information would be very compelling at a budget meeting.
okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Good feedback.
Because again, it's supposed to be, what you're doing is that you're reporting out on what you have done over the past year, and that's that's what we asked the other groups to do, to come in and tell us. So we finally, for the first time, got the end of the Oregon Trail, even though they're not a city entity, but they're on city property. And we said, we'd like to know what you're doing, because you're using our facility,
Yeah,
so we wanted to know.
okay,
And they were like, why do you want to know? Because you are renters.
yeah,
Maybe one, I mean, I don't know, actually, Denise can tell us, the mayor can tell us more than I can, but personally, I find that given that you're writing a written document that matches what's on the slides, given that, I think it might be worthwhile considering reducing the amount of words that are on each slide. Is incredibly dense. And I find that when you give presentation, most of these things you will
He's gonna
verbally
say, yeah.
tell them.
You want
and
to
you have piece
clean
of
the slides up so they're
super
simple.
clean, bang,
Super.
bang, bang, like really it has to be pruned, in my opinion,
Yeah.
because the eyes of the listener is gonna anchor on keywords and key things, and then if you have your words, you're presenting, right? So that fills the gaps of what's on the slides, but if you write on the slides what you're gonna say, people are not gonna listen to you, they're gonna read the slides because there's so much stuff on it.
And they won't be able to read the slides because there's so much stuff on it.
Exactly. yes.
understood.
So a lot of it is stuff you're gonna say. You're totally right, Daria.
Yeah, we can do that. I was throwing everything out there because I wanted to clarify what the messaging overall would be to the.
I used to do
But-
executive slides for
No,
the
I normally wouldn't do this many words, but
So I was a bit kind of.
I wasn't gonna do a total write-up on it, so I just did this instead as a middle ground, but,
Is the first draft.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's his first time. He's got,
Yeah.
you do the brain dump and then you cut back.
Yeah.
Cut down.
Well, and I
Okay.
appreciate you putting it all out there so that we could
Yeah.
see it
See,
all.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now it can be pared down.
yeah, okay. Anything else? Anything that I missed? Okay. Stop sharing. Oh, Joyce, did you have anything? You were covered up with the presentation, so I didn't.
She's still there. She's not covered up.
No, I don't have anything else.
Okay,
Thanks.
great. Okay, we got a couple minutes left. Real quick, Amy, over to you on the Willamette Corridor Art Letter of Interest.
Okay, I don't know if you guys had a chance to read it. It's pretty simple, it's just a letter of interest. So many acronyms. CCAA, right?
That's
That's
County
it.
Art Alliance, okay, quiz.
All right. It's into their last meeting. They've been working on this for quite some time. Speaking of percentages of their budgets, Lake Oswego is 1.5 and Westland is 1. And that's quite a bit of money, but they also try to target any kind of new construction at all generally that's where they can cite things easily instead of like what we try to do to retroactively cite things. And so when this project came up to renovate the whole 43 corridor,
Excuse me, Amy, if people are looking for the letter, it's, it is in the packet in front of you.
Back to the minutes.
10
Yeah.
and,
The last 3 pages are the minutes from our retreat, and it's the 2 pages before that.
It's before that.
right,
Oh, it's
page
tucked
10,
in there.
right, sorry, thank you.
Found it.
Anyway, so that triggered them to put their heads together and say, listen, this is gonna be a big old, long thing, and we could probably be successful in placing some art, and we should include Oregon City. And I think Ann was meeting earlier with them, and they did take your note to say it's not just Highway 43, but it's also 9090.
McLaughlin Boulevard through Oregon City is what it's called, because it makes it sound like a big old highway. McLaughlin Boulevard's within our city limits. When it's,
Okay.
you get outside the city limits, it's 9090.
Okay,
Call it McLaughlin Boulevard.
Makes it sound snazzier.
sure.
Yeah, so Amy's going, yeah, right.
McLaughlin Boulevard.
Well,
We know each other too well. so-
might I just say that I had zero to do with this, that this had already been drafted before I even joined and Joyce joined. So we're really just signing on to say, yeah, we want to help with this. We're thank you for including us. It is a long ways from being implemented at all, but this is what they've come up with to approach the various city councils, or city commissions, I should say. So we will do our part and approach the commission as well, so will they. It is that simple. Right now, they don't know the details. They just have good intentions, and it would be pretty cool to see some art. And I haven't seen, I've heard people talk about what this is gonna be like, how much of a big change it's gonna be, but I haven't seen exactly what it's gonna look like.
It sounds like a great possibility, right?
It
Sounds
does.
pretty exciting.
It
I
does.
think.
I think it's pretty wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm really super psyched we get to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Any questions for Amy?
Joyce, did I leave anything out?
Sorry about that. I don't think so because it's still pretty new. It's exciting. I can't wait till this gets off the ground.
So when are you going to come talk to the city commission about it?
We do not know.
So I did put a note in my slides to talk to note, and I was thinking we would deliver the presentation and this letter at the same time. But I'm happy to separate them out as well.
Oh, yeah, I don't,
You should.
I think so. We're not,
Yeah, it should be separate.
it's a little earlier. I mean, a little too early for that as well.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm keeping it separate. I think would be wiser. I don't want to be the first to approach our commission. I would like one of the others to get started.
So the intention with this letter then would be each of the commissions or cultural coalitions would take it to their respective city commission. Okay.
We're the only ones that are city commissioners. We're the oddballs. Everybody else is a city council.
Yeah.
The other thing you might,
We're first.
that I could be helpful with is that I'm on the board representing Oregon City of the Willamette Falls Landing and Heritage Area Coalition. So they have just been given control over Old City Hall. So we have 2 National Register built properties. So one on the Westland side and one on the Oregon City side. And I mentioned to them at our last meeting, we need to find a great way to tie those 2 National Register properties together so that people who come to see, once we get it up and running, it'll have old Oregon photographs, so you can get old photographs, order them, print them, or buy the ones that are already printed. There'll be exhibit about the heritage area, which goes from basically up River Butteville all the way to the Lake Oswego Iron Foundry. And we'll have some exhibits about that. There'll be some meeting space there, but how do we, we want to get people to go, if they're at the elevator, walk across the bridge and go see that, or if they're at that building, they walk across the bridge and go see the elevator, ride the elevator, do whatever. So that may be a link. If you've been across the bridge lately, they just basically put bark dust down on the plantings there in the front, but it needs a little something in front of that building to really kind of highlight it. Now that the windows are all open, when you drive by, you can actually look into it instead of it all being all boarded, all closed off, because it was a police station at one time.
Yeah.
So that's something that might be included as part of this.
Yeah, we wanna take that comment back.
Yes.
So are you looking for approval today on this letter
No.
or, nope, okay?
This is just,
the
everybody should
trajectory.
know about it, and when if it gets a little more finalized and we are ready to approach the commission, then we at least know about it.
Great. Last thing on the list, or on the agenda was the, I always blank on the name. The proposal.
Tumwater.
Tumwater, yeah. Go ahead.
It's not water, don't say that.
Oh.
It's Tumwata.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Means the Willamette Falls.
I know, it seems like water, it ought to be, right? There it is. In fact, your old middle school is now
Yeah, that's
Tumwater.
right.
Yeah.
Nice, is a nice, very nice.
So I had this idea actually because of this CCAA meeting where they were talking about tariffs and the explosion of the cost of metals, and that a commissioned piece of art for a metal sculpture had almost doubled because of the cost of metal. They had to renegotiate this contract. And I was thinking, oh God, we went, hey, I know where there's metal. What if we could get an agreement between the commission, I know it's not time for you guys yet, but, and the Grand Ronde to allow them to let us salvage some of that metal that's out there. And then at some point, if we wanted to commission a sculpture, we'd have the metal that would be incredibly historic. Okay, I'm excited, I'm sorry. I want to get my hands
So
on
what
that
did
metal.
you get a hold of Ryan?
No, I haven't done it yet because I needed to present it to my cohorts.
Oh, okay.
I think it's a great idea, but it sounds like.
We wouldn't be
What would
we wouldn't be salvaging it, not.
What would we do with all of it? Where would we keep it and stuff
Well, I
like
don't know if
that?
we take all of it.
So
but-
I know that Jenny
We
actually
still
tried
have some
already.
space over at the old public
But she
workshop.
didn't.
I
Yeah.
didn't get to.
No,
No, she didn't.
When the
She
chickens
tried.
weren't there.
Yeah, this will be, I mean, here's what I envision, and please don't shoot me down, Denise.
Not at my house, can't store it at my house.
Oh, well, okay, then never mind. No. That I believe that the city has storage facilities. I mean, there's land where they store all kinds of stuff. They may not want to admit that, but,
Yeah, we do. Mountain View Reservoir has a bunch of stuff that's stored over there, pipes and God knows what. They're
Exactly.
supposed to be reorganizing it and fixing it because we have to take everything out of the shops that are on Center Street and move it there.
There's a bunch of stuff up by the old armory too.
Yeah, it has to go too because that's now officially a charter park, water board park, so that has to go.
okay, that's what I was thinking about waterboard, but,
Yeah.
okay, we can work this out.
There's room at Mountain View.
I think it would be pretty cool that if, with their equipment and machinery that they're using to bulldoze, they just kind of scrape it into a pile, and then we get our beloved city to transport that pile and store it for a while someplace.
that'd be really cool.
It would be really cool. I mean,
And
just
a great
think
cost
about it.
savings, like.
I support her idea.
Ooh,
Cool.
yeah, a great cost saving, so historical. Any artist would give their eye
If they
teeth
aren't
for
selling it
Also,
themselves
if
for
we
Yeah.
actually
There's
show
that,
cost
for
of
sure.
any kind.
salvage, because sometimes what they
exactly-
do is
yeah,
they
that's what I'm
hire these
saying.
people, and then they say, okay, you have rights to all the crap, and you can sell it if you need to.
Yeah.
So that's what we have
We
to
gotta
do.
get in early.
I'm gonna what?
I said we gotta get in earlier before if they try and.
I am
hire
worried
someone.
about that. I am worried. So I wanted everybody here to say, yes,
Yes.
this is a good idea. Okay, and then I'm gonna contact, the tribe tomorrow. And then once I can get an idea of how they feel about this, say that I would like to leverage support from the city and see if we can't get some agreement. I don't have it, of course. I would just like to. And see if they'll bite.
You can say Denise said to call you.
Quick.
We have it on recording, you can just.
That's right, that's right.
Well, I know Ryan and I know the chief of staff, so what is there, all they can do is say no.
Well, and at the same time, I mean, I have no clue what kind of metal and how much there is, but they might also be interested in commissioning something for themselves. And so the process of reclaiming might start a lot of good.
They might also have an official process too. I don't know how they make decisions. I'm sure they've been approached by a whole bunch of different folks, so
For metal?
Oh,
Or
yeah.
just just in general,
Really?
but, yeah, so I would ask them what the right process is to make the kind of request.
Yes.
There are
Oh,
also
sure,
plants that are incredibly beautiful, and there are companies, like there is one in Aurora that basically takes, and there's also one in Canby, actually, they take.
Oh, the salvage yards.
And then, so, yeah, because it's money.
I hear you.
And some of them are incredibly beautiful pieces. There are some really nice
Yeah.
old,
Well, I will give it my best shot, trying to see if there are sensitivities or roadblocks or considerations. And, all you can do is ask.
yeah, yeah.
Ask, and if you
Nothing to
come,
lose.
and if something needs to be decided by us, come back and, yeah, great. Last bit on the agenda is just communications. Any communications anyone would like to bring forward? Hearing none, we are at the end of our meeting and we can adjourn.
You want any updates on anything we're doing, or trying to do? Let's say.
Yeah, Phil,
So Daria, do you want, so anyway, we officially appointed the members of the Destination Marketing and Management, now I hope I didn't get the two M's wrong, the DMMO, the other night, and you had your first meeting. So Daria is going to be a member of that group. And as I
Alright.
understand it, they're getting their, we have the organizing documentation
Next
that's
week.
already been filed legally and all of that. I think the thing that they're gonna be doing after have you guys elected the chair and the vice chair and all that yet?
I'm the treasurer.
Okay, and who's chairing?
Chair is,
Woman from the
lady,
hotel.
the lady.
Oh, Holly. Okay,
the
Holly, yeah,
Yes, thank you,
Holly.
sorry, I'm just,
Yeah.
they are all new people for me, so I'm
Yeah,
still
they're
trying.
new people for me.
So Holly is the chair, the vice chair is the lady from the water, she was sitting next to me. Trieste is the secretary, I'm the treasurer, I'm trying to remember the name of she's got a very interesting name, the vice chair, I can't remember.
Okay, somebody
Yeah.
we appointed that I can't think of.
Yeah,
If you give me
it's
what
the lady,
her affiliation, not just from the
yeah,
farmer's
she's
market.
from the water fishery, she's representative for the water and, there are different categories, I'm retail, there is there are different categories, she's, I think, the water, and is it
Is it the
possible?
Water Consortium?
No, we don't have a water. we
No,
have-
there
we
is
have
no
a
water.
River
It's a-
users, we have river users.
Maybe it's that,
Yeah, but it's nothing to do with water. It's
So-
just, I mean, it does, but river
yeah, it
users,
does, yeah.
okay.
That's my
So
connection, like, how
their
you know
next
me.
task is gonna be hiring, we have a job description for an executive director.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the city will be funding it
Yeah.
for, we're gonna give a portion of the TLT tax, the transit lodging tax, to this effort to, get it up and running, and they probably will be doing more organizing, strategic planning for at least the first year, I would suspect. They are not gonna be a grant funding organization, so I've already had people ask me, well,
Nope.
when is the DMMO gonna get up and we wanna apply? I said, no, that is not what they are going to do. Now, eventually, Mount Hood Territory did have some cultural grants that they gave later on down the line, but what they do, that's the Mount Hood Territory, they're the countywide DMO, and then Travel Oregon is the statewide DMO. So what they do is a lot of advertising and, marketing and, all of that to say, hey, come on down. My thing is, come on down to Oregon City, don't stay in Oregon City, come visit us, spend your money, go away.
Didn't McCall have that for
Exactly, yeah, we want you to spend your money, stay here, put some heads in beds, that sort of thing.
you
So
haven't
that's
decided
kind
a
of-
name though for this
It's
just
called DMMO.
DMMO for now?
Well,
Are they
now.
it's the OC,
Oh.
it's-
Oregon is destination.
Aren't they usually called DMOs?
Frank O'Donnell, former commissioner Frank O'Donnell said that it's also about management, and he wanted it in there, so it's not just about marketing, it's managing
There is actually the
marketing.
official, because it's a non-profit, right?
Yeah, so
there is
when we
actually
created
official
it, it's
file
called
name for it. It's not
DMMO,
DMO.
so it could be DM, little 2 and an O, something really clever, I don't know.
No, the name is Oregon City, there is actually a
Yeah, there's a name.
specific
Yeah, there's a name.
business.
So anyway, so we-
DBA or something too.
Yeah, so we got
There's
that
an ink.
approved, and that's
It's an
moving
incorporated.
forward.
Yeah, but you
Rocky
can do
Smith is
business
supposed to be the
as.
liaison.
Oh, yeah, we can
brand.
certainly
We'll
do
see.
that.
Hopefully he'll make sure he gets to all the meetings. I'm the alternate, so if he doesn't show up, I get to show up. So we've done that. Other than that, we approved the large event grants. So we will be having the artists, Three Rivers Artists Guild event at the Trail Center in August. We'll have the First City Festival in July. What's the third one?
The car show.
What? Car show, yeah, and I'm surprised the Oregon City Brew Fest didn't apply.
That's true.
So, because that's always been a big popular thing. So,
They're getting hit by the metal stuff too.
by the who?
The metal, the tariffs
Oh,
on metal.
yes, yeah, the cans
Because
and the
they're,
brewing,
yeah.
yeah.
It's bad.
And then there's a proposal out there to fund wildfire prevention. They want to add an additional fee onto the bottle
It's not-
return
it's
stuff.
not gonna happen.
So part of the 10 cents goes
No,
somewhere
no, no,
else.
extra 5.
Yeah, an extra
15
5, so
cents?
it's like, anyway, I had to
Yeah.
comment on that
It won't
yesterday, I said I don't
happen, yeah.
support that.
It won't.
But, at the city's thing, so that, those are sort of the cultural things that are kind of going on that we've moved forward, and hopefully that will keep moving forward. The next version of the grants is coming up, and is at the small,
Yeah,
The
let me-
small-
I'll look up the deadline.
smallish grants, smaller, not smallish, smaller. There are no small grants, there's only great ideas.
I'm looking it up right now, I can tell you.
So that's coming up as well.
Yeah.
So we'll see, if we still have money, if we can get out the door. And then the Metro Enhancement will be meeting soon, right?
Second Monday in June.
Yeah. And I'm sure we'll have
23rd,
lots
I
of
think it
people
is, June 16th.
coming out of the woodwork, as we usually do.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
we've done
yeah.
2 years in a
No,
row.
the
We can't
deadline,
apply for
the deadline for the enhancement grants is May 23rd.
May 23rd, so it'll be coming up, yeah. So that'll be interesting. We had some interesting, as you know, interesting proposals last year, and I ended up having a long conversation with the Clackamas County Arts Alliance person, because we did not approve their proposal, because we couldn't show that it was benefiting Oregon City. It was more Clackamas County wide.
Yeah.
And I said, well, you need to hone it down so we know what you're doing that's going to, we're supposed to be spending the money in Oregon City. It's not a Clackamas County grant.
Yeah.
If I recall, I feel like their grant was mostly to fund their admin as well.
Yes, and that was another thing that kind of put the kibosh on it, because we're not gonna do that. But we've had grants, people apply for grants. I think before you came, we had one, somebody wanted us to pave a driveway for the facility.
Yeah,
And,
to prove the
yeah,
public
we said we couldn't do that.
purpose.
There was discussion last year about removing the 2-year, or
Yeah.
the double,
We did,
oh, you did, so
Yeah.
we could reapply.
yeah.
That's true, it's on a trial basis for
It's
this
on a trial
year.
basis.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yes, we could reapply, that's a good point, Josh, and the
Okay.
application is due May 23rd, as I just said. But yeah, special event applications are May 26th, so that grant closes on the 26th of May.
anything else?
That's it.
Okay,
Budget's gonna be real fun, which I'm not looking forward to.
Well, again, thanks everybody for your work. This last month, you guys have been cranking it out and rocking it, so I really do appreciate everybody stepping up.
yep. Okay, with that, meeting's adjourned.